Hey, what's up YouTube? Today I'm going to show you guys how I edit my pictures to go from something like this unprocessed to this after processing. So a little background image on this picture. This is from my trip to Zion National Park in Utah back in June of 2015. If you hit the I key, it'll bring up some more information. I am editing a raw file. I would highly suggest shooting in RAW so you get the most out of your post-processing. If you hit I again, it'll give you the details of this picture specifically. So I shot this with the Nikon D7200 and a Tokina 11-16 f2.8, and specifically I shot this one at an eighth of a second at f11 at the ISO 100. So we'll go over here. Let me reset this image so we can get started. Always come down to lens corrections, enable profile. If your lens isn't in here, come over to profile, make. This is a Tokina, and it usually just picks it right out of there. So if it's a Nikon lens, it usually automatically does it with the EXIF data. So I always turn these on just out of habit, and the picture looks pretty level to me, so I'll keep it like that. But just to see what this does, kind of makes it look a little off to me personally, so I'll just keep it off. Then we'll come up here. I always start off bringing the highlights down and the shadows all the way up. The whites, I adjust these by eye usually. There are a couple different ways to adjust these. You can double click on these and it'll bring the image back to what it was, back to the default. So here we have the blacks. I'll drag these down a little bit. Again, double click on them. It'll take it there, back to default. So we'll stick with that. Clarity, I do this one to, depending on the image, the vibrance to turn up. I usually don't mess with saturation, just not a big fan of oversaturating the colors. So again, so here, it's a little too high of that, and I just contrast here. I'm not a big fan of the tone curve. I just haven't had enough practice with it, so I'll add some contrast from the contrast slider. There's better ways of doing this, but it's just the way I prefer to do it. And that is pretty much done. I like the white balance at the camera that it was shot at. Yeah, so we'll move on to the next slide, to the next tab, which is the HSL tab. Here I'm just going to mess with the yellows a little bit to get the yellows in those clouds a little higher up, and the blues make the blue a little bluer. We'll go over to luminance and to blue. Don't want to do it too much. So you can see it's really blue over here and not so much over here. So just want to keep an eye on that. So detail, it's pretty good here. Adobe does its own automatically, some defaults. You can tell it's pretty sharp all around. There's not much noise, so I'm not going to do any noise reductions. Effects, some people like to add a small vignette to it. This is where you would do it. So I'm not a huge fan of them. Depending on the image, and this image specifically, I wouldn't do it. And that's about it. It's pretty quick and easy once you get the hang of it. If you want to see what the side-by-side would it look like before and after, you just hit the Y key, and there goes your side-by-side comparison. You can see how we really brought it from this flat image to more colorful. So there's Y again, it'll do that, and you can also hit the backslash key. It'll do the same right on top of each other. So yeah, that's about it. That's how I edit my photos, and I'll go ahead and export this. Maybe that's another video for another day. That's about it. Thanks for watching, and let me know what you guys think.